Welcome to the Live Full, Work Fun podcast. This is the show to encourage you to live your life to the fullest and do fun work that fuels your lifestyle. Hi, I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. Every week, you'll be introduced to amazing guests, useful resources, and inspirational stories. You'll discover opportunities and perspectives to shape your version of living full and working fun. Hi there, and welcome to the show. I am so glad that you're joining me today. Whether this is your first time, and I'm glad that you're checking this out, or if you're returning, I'd love to welcome you back. Either way, I think that you're going to enjoy today's guests. It's always great to have you here, and love to ask you this one thing. Are you a part of the Live Full and Work Fun community yet? If not, hop over to Facebook and join the Live Full and Work Fun Facebook group. It's a private group, and that's a place that I'd love for us to be able to pull out and have conversations about our biggest takeaways from this show and see how we can, together in our community, can gain additional perspectives and positive energy toward living full and working fun. Now, you know what I love about life? I love all the twists and turns, and we get to discover things along the way. Through the ups and downs of our life experiences, they can teach us valuable lessons about ourselves and about others. We have the opportunity to create the work and life we love. We have that opportunity. But it's not to say that there won't be challenges in life, right? There won't be challenges along the way. And there may be some huge challenges, some huge setbacks. And sometimes you may know that you need to make some really significant and hard changes to embrace the opportunities that are before you. With change comes either resistance or challenges or both, right? Just like my guest in today's show says, my why allows me to have the perseverance. I love that. My why allows me to have the perseverance. Today, I have founder of Ignite Yearbook Marketing, Lindsey Hartz, joining me. Lindsey was the owner, lead marketing consultant, and book launch strategist from 2011 to 2020 at the Hartz Agency, a boutique marketing firm for authors dedicated to creating strategic marketing campaigns that help words transform lives. In 2021, she shut down the agency and started a new venture, Ignite Faith Media. She wanted to work with authors more comprehensively for the long term of their careers and to provide deeper opportunities for authors and readers to connect with one another for growth and community. Ignite Yearbook Marketing is the first program rollout from Ignite Faith Media. It's an educational company for authors who are eager to master marketing to reach more people with messages of hope and healing, and are dedicated to building an impactful career and ministry out of their book message. I love it. Her work there includes a store for needed templates and resources. It also has a 6-month group program where she and strategy coaches teach new and growing authors the art of marketing, launch, and business development. A mastermind where she and strategy coaches work hands-on with a limited number of growing and establishing authors, take their business and ministry to the next level of impact and income. Her background in corporate and digital marketing and project management, her graduate degrees in business and project management, and her marketing campaign and book launch work with hundreds of best-selling authors, speakers, and consultants and publishers provide the backbone for the skills and experience that she brings to the table. I loved this conversation with Lindsey because we dove in deep on the why. She just broke clean from her successful marketing agency to launch. I love it. Let's get right into that conversation. Well, hey there, Lindsey. I am so glad that you're here with me. We met in person a couple of times, and I have been wanting you to come on my show for quite some time, and I had the nerve to ask recently. And I'm so glad that you said yes.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
I've already talked about in the introduction a little bit of your bio, but why don't you share some fun fact about yourself that's not included in the bio?
Oh, goodness. I can speed read. Not many people know that, but I'm always asked how I'm able to go through so many books, both from a personal enjoyment perspective and for my clients. And the secret is that I can speed read and read very fast and retain the information. And I've been able to do that since I was little.
So was that just kind of a natural born thing, or did you were trained to do that somehow?
No, it was just a natural thing. I have I have basically ADHD. So my brain is always like going and going and going, going, going. And I think I redirected a lot of that energy into reading books when I was younger. I think I just got really good at it because I was so invested in the story and I wanted to see what happened next. And I'm also one of those people that has a very hard time putting a book down. So if I open a book, I'm pretty much sitting there to finish reading it. So yeah, it's great. I guess it was just a natural born gift and something I love to do.
That kind of alludes, because I was going to ask you, how did you get into doing what you do? So apparently reading has been a part of your life for a long, long time. And now you help authors.
Yeah, absolutely. Reading in just the perspective of my past, of my childhood, was always something that was a little bit of an escape for me. I had good moments in my childhood, but I also had a lot of difficult things in my childhood. So books were things that I could turn to just see a little hope in a different life, in a different future. And I really just was fascinated by the stories, of these people in these books. Interestingly, I was pretty academically gifted. School was never really hard for me, which is a good thing, but it also made me a little probably socially awkward, although I don't think that's changed much. So if you meet me in person, I'm really trying, to not be completely weird. But I think for me, I don't know, books have always just been a conduit to something else. Right. And I worked in project management and marketing in the corporate world. Like I went to college and I got, degrees in all sorts of businessy things and worked in the corporate world for a while. But there was always just kind of a little bit of a void. There was a disconnect between who I was as a person, as a creative, and kind of the business world I found myself in. I often found myself feeling like I was kind of stuck, in a box that didn't fit. And I was really good at my job, but that doesn't mean that I was feeling like I was really going anywhere with it in a meaningful way. Beyond money. And to me, that wasn't really the most important thing to do with my life, make money. So having said that, I got connected with authors because I was going through a difficult time in about 2006, 2007. And my therapist, the first time I'd ever gone to therapy, had me start writing just kind of my thoughts and my emotions and how I was feeling. And it was really an exercise to give me a voice, because until that time period in my life, I really didn't have one through a lot of circumstances. And I started going through just different events with authors and made a lot of friends with authors. And one of the recurring comments I heard is how much they hated marketing or how much they dealt with it. They didn't want to, but they kind of had to. And just over a couple of years of just a series of divine appointments and relationships that formed through the writing world, and then my really trying to process, well, what do I do with my life after my career? Because I did leave that job. I started the business really just to help my friends who were authors. And people always ask me what my business plan was, and I had zero business plan. It was very much an act of obedience on my part to really try to use my gifts and help people. And that's basically what I did, was help my friends for a few years. And then I actually started getting a little bit more serious about building a business structure, around what I was doing. And that was basically the 9 years that I ran my book marketing agency, the Hartz Agency, which I actually just shut down, but there's a cool story behind that too.
I am anxious to get into that. But first, I wanted to ask you, because you had mentioned some things about, you were in your corporate life, you felt a little void. Well, this podcast is called Live Full, work fun. What's your picture of a full life?
Gosh, I think for me, it's doing something where I feel like I can impact and serve others. In a way that helps them move forward. On all the personality tests that are out there, I always score in the areas of connection and vision and inspiration. And I think it's interesting because I think I'm a naturally born visionary leader. And people who fall into those categories often feel a little crazy until they realize that that's actually a gift. Right. Some of the world would call us dreamers who don't get anything done, because that can be accurate sometimes. We're always coming up with ideas, more ideas. But for me, I just knew that what I was doing, again, tactically, I could do the job and I can do it well, in the corporate world, but it wasn't filling emotionally. It wasn't fulfilling spiritually. And I just had that creative tug of, I need to do something different and better with my life than what I'm doing. And it really needs to allow me to serve people well. So that was kind of the idea between the heart and literal translation between what I was doing then and what I started.
When I first met you, your role was with Hartz Agency, and you're transitioning right now. And why don't you tell us about that transition and why? Why now?
Yeah. So, there's people who like to pivot what they're doing. I'm a little bit more, I'm going to burn it all down and start something new. And that also falls in line with the whole visionary aspect of it. But it's an exciting thing. It's not a change born out of desperation or anything like that. There are definitely things about running the Hartz Agency that were very much against my nature and against my gifting. And I kind of pushed through it for a long time because I thought, oh, this is what my client needs. They need people to do these things for them. Well, the challenge is I'm a visionary marketing strategist, and the whole doing part, actually making those things happen. Again, I was passable at it, but I wasn't excellent at it. And when you spend too much time in conflict with your natural gifting, it does wear down in life and in business. And for me, it kind of resulted in a little bit of a burnout. So again, I was like, okay, if I'm going to make this change, I'm just going to have to shut it down. And because that's the way my mind and body operates. If I had tried to pivot piece by piece by piece, I'd still be trying to shut this down in 10 years. So for me, it was just get it done, get it over with, and move forward. And it's been great. I've been actively working on the new business roughly about 4 months now. And we're about to launch kind of the first phase, the founders group of this new program. And we're putting all the pieces in place to build a really cool business and ministry, I think.
So tell us a little bit about what is it all about?
Yeah. So in the Hartz Agency, we primarily served authors and publishers who needed marketing campaigns to launch books, new releases. That is what most people knew me for and what most people came to me for. But behind the scenes, if you were my client, number one, you probably saw some aspect of the tension between my visionary skill set and my not so strong doing skill set. But it's something I worked through, right? And hired help for. But the other thing is I was getting increasingly frustrated because a done for you agency is very project oriented. You have a client come in, you usually have 3, 4, 6 months with that client to get a prescribed set of things done, and then they move on. Well, the problem with that is it wasn't reflective of what an author actually needs from a holistic marketing perspective. The book being released is only one piece of what we refer to as like a 5-cycle author marketing journey. And so what I was seeing over and over and over is if these other things weren't in place before it got to the book launch, then the book launch itself was not as successful in reach or impact or monetarily, right? All of those things are important. And then also, I really wanted to partner with authors as a relational person for as long as I could. And because I ran an agency, I had to keep cycling clients, right? In order to have income coming in order to pay my contractors. So I would rather have spent more time with them, really shoring everything up and making sure their goals were achieved. But the nature of the business didn't allow us to do that, right? So I really made the transition with that in mind. So do you want me to share a little bit about what we're building?
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. So part of my personal story that just kind of relates to my personal journey is I had a friend send me to a bookstore in about 2006, 2005, the year. And I was, again, going through a difficult time. And when I walked into the bookstore looking for this other book, there was a row of end cap displays all along the aisle. And it was covered with some completely different book that I was not there for, but it really did its job. You know, the title and the subtitle and the cover kept drawing my attention. And I walked over, picked it up, flipped it open, and it opened to a chapter that at that time very accurately described my life, my sense of disquiet, my sense of urgency that I needed to do something differently. And also, you know, some uncomfortable aha moments of, gosh, there are things that I'm doing in my life that aren't really conducive to going where I want to be, right? To living into my full potential in life and business. And, you know, I like to say that that moment in the bookstore was the instant everything changed, but I'm a little stubborn. So I kind of put the book down and walked away and thought that was weird. But a couple of years later, after, you know, things had gotten more challenging, as they will when you refuse to change, I remember that moment with the therapist. And I thought, wow, that was like the first tangible moment of me kind of recognizing things could be different. I ignored it then. I'm not going to ignore it now. Right. So that's a very important theme in my life. We've talked about books being important from a very young age, but it's also the medium that has been used most often in my own life as I keep growing and changing to affect that growth and change. Right. So what I'm doing is I shut down the Hartz Agency, and we're in the progress of changing everything over to a company called Ignite Faith Media. And that's the umbrella company that's represented by me as the owner, founder, and the face of the business. Under that umbrella, I will be doing and continuing my own speaking, you know, teaching around marketing, writing my own books. Finally, everybody who's told me to write books over the last 10 years will be very excited about that. And then underneath that, we're going to have two divisions. One division is called Ignite Your Book Marketing. That is the program we are currently rolling out. And that is the education arm for authors who are wanting to fully understand that full cycle of marketing, how to build their business or their ministry in an impactful, effective way so that no matter what they release, they're reaching their audience and they're affecting transformation in their readers' lives. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it that we're also concurrently building, because I have nothing else to do right now, is we're building a reader community. And that reader community is called Ignite Your Faith. And it is very much about building a platform for our authors to speak into, but also providing a platform for readers to come and get help and resources in areas that are very traditionally not helped well in the world. So I know I'm going to have some people ask about the faith reference. And if I do mean faith, I'm a Christian, but also I believe that faith doesn't just have to refer to your religious beliefs. I think we have to have a lot of faith in ourselves as people. We have to really navigate our own growth and our change. And so igniting your faith can apply to planting seeds of hope and faith in people. But it also can apply to a person taking ownership of their life and realizing, gosh, with some help and some direction and some beautiful stories from people who may have experienced what I've experienced, I can take that step to ignite my faith in myself or in my life or in my parenting or in my business or in my ministry, whatever the case may be. So the Ignite Your Faith angle is actually going to be an app and a streaming service and live events and a magazine and a podcast and eventually a publishing imprint. And so what we're trying to feature on that side are resources to help people who need to kind of grow in how to address difficult topics in life, difficult experiences, difficult situations, trauma, hurt in the church, hurt in the world, kind of the caregivers, the people that would be the first person someone would go to for help. Your pastors or your therapists or your counselor or your teacher or your parents. But then we're also trying to draw people who may have been hurt in those contexts, in those structures, and give them a safe place to find a little bit of healing. The importance here is we are not trying to prescribe to them what their journey should be, but we are definitely trying to draw them back to the heart of the Father, to the heart of the Creator in a very non-invasive, caring, loving way, because I believe that faith is a personal choice. And all we can do is say, this is my life and this is what has happened in my life. And maybe it can help you too. And if you have questions or doubts, or you want to know you're not alone, me and my team of authors are here to support you in that. So that's what we're building. And it's kind of scary and terrifying, but also awesome.
Yes, I can see, and I think it's great that you have Ignite in the title of your new venture, because I can see the spark that you're excited about this, and that and I think that you have a good point. I mean, we have in our lives the opportunity to create whatever we want at any time in our lives. I mean, you created Hartz Agency, and now you're creating something new because we have those opportunities to realize, hey, this is not as much fun, or there's aspects that I'm still holding myself back. Why am I doing this? Why don't I change? Let's change. I love that. I think that a lot of people would stay stuck in something. It's like, well, I've done it this long. I can't stop now. I'll just keep going. What would you say to somebody if they just feel stuck? It's like, oh, there's too much uncertainty out there. I've already established a business. I'm doing it, but it's sucking the life out of me. Is it just because I'm in a rut right now, or should I just burn the hatches and just change?
Yeah, gosh, that's a good question. I can't answer for everybody's, individual circumstances, but I could address that from my perspective. And the misalignment I had in my business wasn't that I wasn't gifted at what I was doing. It was that I was not doing it in a way that utilized my actual strengths. Right. So the why behind my mission has always been there. I just needed to grow into confidence in myself and be able to look at myself in a way that highlighted what I was actually gifted in versus what I thought other people wanted from me. And once I aligned how I was running my business with who I am as a person, right, with all my glory and all my flaws, things have been tremendously easier. Right. The kind of that flow is there. I often talk about how it feels like, in dominoes, when you have the row of dominoes, it's like I tipped over the first one and everything keeps going faster and faster and faster, but I'm not the one having to walk next to each domino and tip it over anymore. And until I really figured out through a lot of mindset work, a lot of prayer, a lot of therapy, and a lot of people really investing in my personal growth and mindset growth, a lot of my business coaches and mentors, seeing things in me that I didn't see. And not only seeing those things, but continually encouraging me and equipping me to grow in it so that I would become confident in those skills. And I think the key here is that I was open to receive that feedback without offense. I was willing to be teachable and to grow. And also I had to do the hard personal work. And I would very much tell you, one of my dear friends and mentors is Mike Kim, whom you know. And I remember him telling me years ago, like, why do you do all these things? Like, you're really gifted in this, but you keep making these decisions that don't really align with, who I know you can be. And at the time I was like, well, but all the excuses. Okay. Now listen, I had some serious stuff going on, right? I really did. I had a lot of just personal stuff going on that was very difficult to navigate. So they were valid experiences and excuses, but also I was refusing to do the work at that point. I was stuck in the circumstances. And so when people feel that way, my really only answer to you is you have to find a way to pull yourself up out of that pit and take one step forward. Instead of trying to change everything about everything that's going wrong, try to take the next right step, right, towards progress. And then surround yourself with people who believe in you when you can't believe in yourself, because it makes a world of difference.
Was there like a wake up call for yourself to, it's like, okay, now I'm going to believe what Mike told me, type thing?
I wouldn't say there was a single moment. I think things like this are progressive. I probably started paying more attention when more than one person that were not necessarily connected started speaking the same truth into my life. Mike was one of the first ones, right? But there were other situations, other business mentors or peers or friends that knew me well that would randomly tell me the same thing out of the blue. Now, of course, because I'm a person of faith, I don't believe it's random. I believe it's divine. But I do think if my heart had to be open first to receive it. If I hadn't said, gosh, maybe there's something there and I need to try to like really receive this information and really believe it, like this person obviously sees something in me. So maybe what's wrong is the way I see myself. And so just doing that work of really, you know, this is hard. This is hard work, especially when you take into account family of origin, like the way we were raised and the messages we internally keep inside our heart and souls. There can be generational trauma. There could be literal things going on in your day-to-day life that pull your attention away from believing in yourself. I mean, it's hard to believe in yourself when everything around you is blowing up in a volcano, right? So I just think at the end of the day, it's having kind of that inner awareness. I'm gifted in some really great things. I also have really terrible things that have happened in my life and that sometimes happen out of the blue. And the only choice I have is, do I keep pursuing the goodness or do I fall into despair over the difficulty? I do get asked often, well, what made you, switch from one to the other? And it was just a choice. Now, granted, it was a choice I had to make myself do often, but as I continue to do that, it's become more natural. So now when something bad happens, I go into, okay, well, I allow myself to feel, gosh, this sucks. But I also try to go, okay, what can we do now to move forward? And instead of getting stuck in the negativity of it. And it's just required a lot of practice. In the Bible, there's a verse that talks about taking your thoughts captive. And I always think about this. It's okay to feel and have emotion and despair and be angry and sad and frustrated when bad things happen. But you have to take that captive and not let it overflow into all aspects of your life. You have to choose to move forward in your strength.
During transitions, do you find that you have to let go of some relationships in order to open up new ones?
I would say that's accurate. It's something that I've always kind of held loosely, relationships. Again, some of that has to do with my upbringing and lived experiences. And that to me, relationships and authority figures never really stayed around. They were never there for me. I often had to take care of myself and do everything alone. So in my case, I'm a little more open-handed with relationships. I very much view people as that they're either there for a season or a specific reason. I personally have not come across anybody that's in my life for life beyond my husband and my children and some immediate family members. And so I think if you have that perspective, I mean, a season might be, I often think when my kids were little, and we had play groups and church groups and all of us were together for years and years and years. Well, as our kids grew older, that group kind of grew apart. That was a season, right? A season of parenthood. Reasons can be what probably happens more in our entrepreneurial world, right? We get connected at events or we get connected online. We're kind of together to collaborate or partner or learn from one another. But that doesn't mean the relationship will be long-term. It might, but it might not. To say, I think relationships are important, but the most important thing is having clear expectations that no one person is meant to fulfill your every need. That's actually your job to fulfill your needs, right? And not place that responsibility on other people. Because then when they leave or the relationship dissolves, or it's just naturally ended in a positive way, then you're not feeling like that, they've left me. It's, oh gosh, I really appreciate them. And I can think of them with love and kindness and I can check in on them. But their absence is not a reflection on me as a person. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. And so many times I think that there are individuals that hang on to maybe the past or, I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings. I can't be around them, or they're a negative influence, or making the excuse that somebody else is holding them back.
I think I think if you're in that space, there are a few exceptions. So let me say that caveat that I can think of. But if you're in that space, I don't think people can hold us back unless it's a literal abusive type situation. I mean, that's a very real,
That is very real.
not having money or funds or a means to escape, some sort of situation like that. So I want to be clear that I'm not talking about that. But I do think that's giving that person too much power over your own life, and you have agency, and I say this with humbleness. Like I said, I had some difficult stuff happen, and I spent 15 years letting someone's harm towards me change my personality and hold me back. I allowed it. Now, in the beginning, did I know I was allowing it? No. Right. I didn't know I was choosing to allow this person to still harm me in my mind. Right. It took a lot of therapy and it took a lot of me doing the work. But once I realized I was doing that and I was able to let it go, I don't have that same hang up. I realized that I was giving them power they did not have. So, whether it's a really difficult situation like I experienced or whether it's just a friendship that's ended, I think it's human nature to question, well, what did I do? Or what did I not do? Or what could I have done better? I prefer to have the mindset of bless and release. I'm also pretty conscientious about asking people that I'm in relationship with, hey, is there anything I can do better? Is there anything I've done that's caused you harm? I actively seek out that feedback because I want to make sure that I'm the best friend I can be or the wife or mother I can be. So I don't think I personally have experienced recently someone just leaving without me having some inkling of maybe there wasn't just an alignment like in our life, our seasons of life or our situations or whatever. I joke around that I make really great friends who all move. It's happened to me like 4 times in a row now. So my point is, I just think you really have to make sure you're not giving someone agency over your life that they don't own or deserve. You can grieve the loss because there will be loss, right? But you have to make sure it's not taking over every other aspect of your life.
You help and enable authors to get their message out. It's one thing to get your thought, because that's a very hard thing to get your thoughts out. Well, I think it is getting your thoughts out and getting them into book form, something that makes sense. That is a skill set all of its own. Do your authors that you work with feel out of sorts on the whole marketing?
If you're choosing to be an author, most likely you have a gift of being able to write either naturally or with some editing help. I'm one of those people that can get a whole bunch of words out on paper, but I need someone to refine it for me because, oh my gosh, I can talk forever and I can write forever. So I think at the end of the day, the more important question to ask is, you as an author, do you understand why you're writing, right? What is your mission? What is your purpose? What is your passion? What is your goal? I obviously have a very distinct mission, right? I really want to help people overcome hurt and trauma in their life and find hope and transformation. I happen to do that through books because I believe that's the methodology that I'm supposed to use because I feel like my life was crafted for it, right? So that's how I choose to do it because it's what makes me come most alive when I'm talking about these things. And so I don't know, if you focus on it that way, it makes the how less difficult. Like if I showed you this crazy checklist of things I have to accomplish right now, most people would be like, oh my gosh, I'm just not going to do that, or I'm going to go to bed or whatever. Right. But because my mission is so clear and my passion is so clear about this, I don't worry so much about the exact steps. My why is what allows me to have perseverance, right? Through ups and downs and trials and things not going right. If I depended on what I could see in front of me, the tangible things that happen, I would have given up a long time ago. So what I usually tell my authors in relationship to this is, you wrote that book for a reason. That's what keeps you going through the ups and downs of marketing and building your platform and launching and writing books and dealing with rejection and all sorts of things. If you don't have a strong sense of why, it's going to be very difficult to navigate the how long term.
I love that. That's such great insight and advice. And I'm going to kind of wrap up our conversation. And I understand that since you work with so many authors, that this may be a tough one to answer. And you've already alluded to some of this. But I would love for you to share your favorite resource or book that has really made a difference for you, either personally or professionally?
Oh my gosh, do you see my bookshelf?
Oh, I know. It's going to break.
Like, how can I pick one?
I know.
Oh my gosh. I'm looking at a stack of books I'm reading right now. I'll answer for right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know, because we've got
Yeah.
different seasons that have made different impacts.
Yeah. Right now, I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember the author's name. How to Do the Work. Her name's Nicole LaPera. She's the holistic psychologist on Instagram. There are some aspects of her work that are a little outside of, we'll say, my Christian beliefs, but I love how she breaks down this whole figuring out how to take ownership and agency over your life and doing the work to kind of propel yourself forward. Just fantastic. And the other book I'm reading at the same time, again, because I have nothing else to do, is Atlas of the Heart by Brene Brown. I'm actually reading both of these for my new program to help craft some of the marketing mindset that I'm going to be teaching. Atlas of the Heart talks about all the emotions we have as people, the things we do when we're pushed into a corner, or we're stressed, or we're afraid, or we're happy, or we're excited. And I picked up the book because I thought, wow, that's going to be a great marketing resource, which is not really what she's intending. But for me, it makes perfect sense, because what you're trying to do is pull out emotion from your readers and get them to act. So both of those are ones that I really love right now.
Nice. Thank you for sharing. I'd like to put those links in the show notes, and maybe we can all read those. Now, how can people stay connected with you, Lindsey?
Yeah, the easiest way is to connect with me on Instagram. It's my favorite platform, lindsey.hartz.creative, because Instagram will not let me change my name. That was my first business name, like 10 years ago, before the agency, but okay. And then, follow me for information. And it's about books I read in my family, but also, like, you can send me messages and I'll respond, so if you have any questions about anything that we've talked about, or marketing or authorship or whatever, shoot me a message and I'll respond. And then if you want to know anything else about the program, right now you can go to igniteyourbookmarketing.com for the author program.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here, Lindsey. I so appreciate it. I've enjoyed myself thoroughly. Thanks.
Me too.
Well, thanks for being here with me today. The links to all of Lindsey's contact information and resources mentioned are right there in the show notes. And let's continue this conversation. Hop over to Facebook and post what your biggest takeaway from today's show was in the Live Full, Work Fun Facebook group. Now, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'd love for you to do me this tiny favor. Share this episode. Do you know an author, an aspiring author, or someone that wants to get a book out? Share this episode with one person, at least one person, who you might find it helpful and enjoyable. Just text them the link. Well, thanks for listening, and until next time, have a fantastic week. Live full and work fun.